OpenAI just released the GPT-5 model. That's great and all, but how does that compare to the reigning champion of coding, Claude Opus 4.1? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be going over in this video. I'm going to be going over what's new with GPT-5, how it compares with Opus 4.1 in terms of the benchmark and pricing, and also putting both models to the test in my own real-world coding task and see how they perform. And by the end, you'll know whether I'll be switching off Claude Code or not. So you may be asking, what's new with GPT-5? GPT-5 is a mixture of expert model with 400K context window. That's double the context of what Claude Opus takes, which is a huge upgrade. But again, how good is the model at using what's in its context? It seems like OpenAI really put an emphasis on making sure that this model performs well when it comes to coding and tool calling. Let's take a look at the article they put out introducing GPT-5 for developers. So they've trained GPT-5 to be a true coding collaborator. It excels at producing high quality code and handling tasks such as bug fixing, editing code, and answering questions about complex code bases. And from my limited experience so far, since it was just released like yesterday, it has performed a lot better than previous OpenAI models. They also said that GPT-5 excels at long-running agentic tasks, achieving state-of-the-art results from T2 benchmark. They're also introducing a new feature in the API to give developer more control over model responses. I also believe that in the API, you can now actually see its thinking traces. GPT-5 also comes in 3 different sizes. So this GPT-5, Mini, and Nano. Obviously, each one have different pricing, and we'll go into that later in this video. I like how they've put out benchmarks, but they've only benchmarked against their own model, which is, I guess, fine. What I really want to see is against other models from different providers. That will paint a better picture, and we're going to look at that in just a bit as well. They also mentioned that GPT-5 shows strong improvement to long context performance as well, so that's great to hear with its 400K context length. GPT-5 outperformed O3 and 4.1 by a margin that grows substantially at longer input length. So you can see here, GPT-5 is now available in API platform in all 3 sizes. It's available on the Responses API, Chat Completion API, and is the default in Codex CLI. And using the Codex CLI is how I'm going to be testing this model later in the video. GPT-5 is priced at $1.25 per million input token and $10 per million output token. These pricing are extremely competitive compared to like Anthropic's pricing. Now to the actual model comparison. GPT-5 in terms of intelligence index is top of the line. It is the best. Even if we compared it to all models, it is the most intelligent model released so far. You can see that from these benchmarks across the board that GPT-5 is technically better than Claude 4 Opus thinking and Sonnet thinking. So I'm really curious in actual usage. The intelligence versus pricing here, you can see that GPT-5 is cheaper and has higher intelligence. As I've mentioned, 400 context window versus 200K context window. You can see the Opus pricing is $15 input, $75 output, while GPT-5 is $1.25 input, $10 output. It costs substantially less than Anthropic's model right now. I hope that Anthropic would price their models a little bit more competitively compared to their competitors, especially now that they've reduced the usage limit of Claude Code and things like that. I think they really need to think how they're pricing this now that OpenAI released something of comparable value. Now you're probably wondering, okay, well, I want to be able to use GPT-5 for coding tasks. Where do I use it, or what's the pricing here? Well, you can either use it through Cursor, Windsurf, or you can use it through Codex CLI. If you choose Codex CLI, then you can subscribe to OpenAI's plan, which is either the Plus tier or the Pro tier at $20 a month or $200 a month. Very similar to Anthropic's pricing model, where the Pro tier is $17 and the Max plan starts from $100. Obviously, this is the $200 a month plan as well. So let's move on to see how exactly do these compare against each other in real-world coding tasks. Starting with OpenAI GPT-5. I know this says Claude Code, but this is actually OpenAI Codex, and it is using GPT-5. What I'm going to be testing is I'm going to have it redesign my website. I'm going to give both OpenAI Codex and Claude Code exact same 2 prompts and see what results I get from each one, and we can compare the 2. Basically, I have this landing page here that I'm using for my website currently. I basically have a bunch of dead projects I want to get rid of, and then I need to redesign the website so that there's a navigation bar and a way for user to log in and download new tools that I've been working on. I already wrote the prompt ahead of time, so I'm just going to copy the prompt in, and as you can see, the codex CLI, the user experience is subpar. I don't know how to explain it, but none of this matters. Why do I need to see this? I'd rather see the model explain to me what exactly it's doing, what steps and action that it is currently taking. All right, looks like Codex has completed its task and it's looking good. I can see that it has removed 60 or so files. This looks really promising. And now let's queue up the redesign. Basically here, I'm just asking it to redesign the website and add another landing page for my Claude Maestro application, as well as a way for users to click to download that application once I've released it. All right, so here's what it came up with. This is looking good. If I go to Tools, Claude Maestro, okay, this is like half decent. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch over and start again, but this time we're gonna be using Claude Code with Opus 4.1 and see how it does. You know, OpenAI has been touting that GPT-5 has great aesthetics, and a lot of other people has been saying that too, but honestly, if you look here at how Claude Code has redesigned my website, it's pretty aesthetically pleasing. This is really nice. If we look at the Claude Maestro landing page between what Opus 4.1 did and what OpenAI did, you can see that Opus 4.1 completely smashed GPT-5 in terms of aesthetics and looks. So now you may be asking, will I be switching over to GPT-5 for my coding tasks? The answer is no, and the reason for that is mainly not because GPT-5 is any dumber than Opus, or in fact, I think GPT-5 is actually smarter than Opus. What I'm looking for when it comes to utilizing a model for coding is like the ecosystem, the toolings that's built around them. What I feel is that OpenAI is so reliant on third-party tooling. You can even see it on their website. They promote Cursor, Windsurf, and other terminal coding rather than their own codex CLI. It's clear to me that they're not building their own ecosystem. They're letting other people build on their models. While if you look at Anthropic, they built Claude Code. Just look at how much documentation there is around Claude Code, how many features it has, how much nicer developer experience it is to use Claude Code compared to something like Codex CLI. The reason why I don't like third-party tools, for example, Cursor or Windsurf, is because the usage limits just get smaller and smaller. Because what's happening is Cursor or Windsurf needs to buy credits from OpenAI, and they need to make money off that, so they are going to add some kind of margin on that. So the limits just get less and less as you go down the chain. I just don't like that. While Claude Code is owned by Anthropic, own the model, they own the tool, so it's all there for you. Yes, they reduce the limit, but it's still extremely lucrative, honestly. Now, another take that I have, and it's very subjective, I believe that GPT-5 is great for vibe coding in terms of, okay, if you're using Lovable, Ball.new, or something like along those lines, that's just like you want to one-shot something, this is amazing for that. But if you are a person who code and you care about the tools surrounding your code, Claude Code is definitely still the way to go. Yes, while both have literally the same pricing model, in fact, OpenAI $200 a month plan gives you even more features in terms of like utility and tools. For example, codex, video generation in the $200 a month plan, while $200 max plan on Anthropic is basically Claude Code. And then the chat, which everyone has, and artifacts. Most of the value in Anthropic's $200 max plan is within Claude Code, for me. Still, Claude Code just so good. Having said all that, I am gonna still stick with Claude Code. Unfortunately, GPT-5, it's great, just not good enough for me to switch just yet. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, smash that like, subscribe button, and if you want to know more about Claude Maestro, check out this video. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.